Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author, Matt Adams.
I am super excited about today's show. Welcome one and all to it. Our guest, as we start, is the 2025 Ryder Cup captain, Luke Donald, for Team Europe. This is his second go at the helm, but what he has done as an individual player is massively impressive. And I wanted to start there because it's not all about what he's doing as captain. His captaincy is because of the foundation that he laid before that. 17 professional wins worldwide, 428 starts on the PGA Tour, including 5 wins, 16 runner-ups, and 79 top 10s. 207 European Tour starts, including 7 wins, 5 runner-ups, and 60 top 10s. Again, to reiterate, 7-time winner on the European Tour, a 5-time winner on the PGA Tour. He ascended to world number 1. 56 major championships under his belt, including 5 top 5s. He won the 2023 European Ryder Cup when he beat U.S. captain Zach Johnson's team 16.5 to 11.5 in Rome. Yes, we will discuss that in the aftermath. 4-time European Ryder Cup player, 04, 06, 10, and 12. And I want to get into the details. His overall Ryder Cup record is 10-4-1. In 2004, he was 2-1-1. In 2006, he was 3-0-0. He beat Chad Campbell that year 2-1, if you remember, to finish. 2010, 3-1-0. He beat Jim Furyk 1-up. In 2012, remember at Chicago, unbelievable. He was 2-2-0, but he beat Bubba Watson 2-1, and that was 100% a spark. Pleasure to have Luke joining us right now to discuss all these things. Luke, how you doing? How you holding up?
I'm good, Matt, and it's nice to hear some stuff about my individual career. I haven't heard much of that in the last couple of years. It's all been Ryder Cup stuff, so brought back some good memories there. Thank you.
Your individual career, obviously every time you guys are out there, you're searching for something, whether we're talking about a shot, a round, a tournament, a season. Where is Luke Donald right now at 47 years old in terms of what he's searching for and where you feel your game is?
Well, that competitive edge, that competitive spirit never goes. I am playing a reduced schedule right now. I think I'm thinking more about the Ryder Cup than anything individual, but it really does it does make a lot of sense for me to be out playing some events, keeping that communication, seeing the guys out on tour. And when you play a tournament, you understand the difficulty of how it's playing. When you're watching on TV, it's not quite so easy. So when someone shoots a 62, 63, 64, and you're playing in that same event, you really understand how good or bad that is. So it has a lot of value for me to play some events. I'm not playing as many, 12 again to 15 events this year, but I'm still very committed to trying to get better as a player individually. Just this last few weeks, I've been taking a deep dive into my own health, my back, how to make sure that it doesn't flare up. I'm looking at 3D. I'm looking at my swing. I'm still working very hard individually on my golf. And the tournaments that I enter this year, you still have that desire to play your best and have a chance to win. And that certainly never goes away.
How much are you keeping up with the fitness, Luke? I knew that became very important to you.
I've always looked at that, and again, you're looking at always different little ways to gain an edge on your opponents. I think at my age, I'm 47 now. I have a little bit of an eye towards when I turn 50. I sort of have this thing in the back of my mind, kind of a 3-year plan is how do I stay somewhat competitive out here, but also with an eye to potentially, having a good run on the Champions Tour. I have so many of my peers that, play the Champions Tour now and enjoy it. It's a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere, but still a very competitive atmosphere, and it's something that certainly intrigues me. And what I'm doing now has an eye towards how I can be successful in 3 years' time.
Well, I think it also should be said that when you ascended to world number one, you did it very much after we had entered the era where golf at its highest elite competitive tours had become a power game. And you did that with accuracy and you did that with finesse. You did it your own way.
Yeah, I think 2008, I had a wrist surgery in 2008. I was playing the last round at Torrey Pines, 15th tee shot, hit a drive, and my wrist, I had something in my wrist snap, and I was chasing distance a little bit. I was trying to keep up with the guys. I could tell the game was changing. It was becoming more of a power game. I'd certainly grown up at the beginning of the era of John Daly and then to Tiger Woods and these guys that were dominating the game through power. And certainly it's continued to go that way. But, that injury sort of made me pause, and it made me think about what I was really good at, what was my DNA. And I really went and concentrated on that. I wanted to make my strengths, which was putting, short game, wedge play, as good as they could be. You can't be successful on the PGA Tour with one thing that's really bad. So I had to make sure that my iron play, my driving stayed at a decent level, but I really did focus on from the hole backwards. And that was really the key to me getting to world number one.
You heard me talking about your individual records in the Ryder Cups in which you competed as a player. What was it about Luke Donald and competing and representing Europe in the Ryder Cups that brought out the best of you time and time again?
Yeah, I think I was an awkward player to play against. Again, a lot of time not being the longest. I was hitting first into greens. I was able to put the pressure on my opponents. I always felt like I was always like half a step ahead. And I didn't worry too much if I missed greens. I was going to get the ball up and down a lot of times. And I knew that was frustrating to my partners, my playing opponents. I was a good putter. I was really good inside 10 feet. I'd hold those putts that meant a lot over 18 holes. And again, I was sort of an annoying player to play against because, some people would, you talked about me playing against Bubba at Medina. He was 50 yards ahead of me on a lot of holes. But again, putting in the pressure, holding putts, getting up and down. If I did miss a green, keeping that momentum going, I think was pretty key to the success that I had in match play. I also had some good teammates as well. You can't do it without good teammates. Yeah. I paired with Sergio a lot. We all know how good he is, and most points ever scored, as a European in a Ryder Cup, and just loves that sort of match play mentality. So having partners like that helped my record as well.
How much has a dynamic changed for you now? Because and it is what it is. I get it, but when you tee it up alongside of a player now, you're Luke Donald, the Ryder Cup captain. And it isn't new. This is your second go-round, although it was abridged the first. How is that dynamic with you? You have to know that on their side there's going to be some measure, if not flat out intimidation, but at least some nerves.
A little bit, and that's a great thing for me. It's just to see how they handle that pressure. If you can't handle playing Thursday and Friday with Luke Donald, then how are you going to handle the pressure of a Ryder Cup? So it gives me little insights, gives me little tells into their mentality. But to be honest, when I pair with these potential players, it's more about just getting to know them more than anything. These are world-class players, and I think you don't get to being a full member on the DP World Tour or the PGA Tour without being very, very good at golf. So it's more about the communication, the getting to know them, to sort of having that high level of trust that you create through these relationships, through playing with them and getting to know them a little bit better. So that's where the real benefit comes in.
So Luke, being a professional golfer, there's so much about what you guys do that's individual, that's singular. Even though I realize that you have your teams behind you that help support what you do, et cetera. But you're out there club in hand on your own, you and your caddy. And each of you, in my view, represent your own individual brand. Obviously, your brand is continuing to evolve. Now, as the second time as a Ryder Cup captain, it's clearly have an impact on that. My question to you, though, is whether there's the image that we see of Luke Donald. It's a wholesome image, you and Diane and the girls maybe on the beach, or a shot like this that we have up there, right? And it looks like, I assume that's Disney World, that you're with some friends chilling there, right? So it's that kind of image. Yeah. And then during COVID, you were very generous in doing tips, many times in the gymnasium, et cetera, sharing with us what you're working on with your game, et cetera. So how would Luke Donald define his brand? What is it? And has it changed or evolved given this new role?
Well, man, I'm not sure it's really changed or evolved too much. I think, I've always tried to be authentic. And I think the best brands are ones that really show you and how you are. This is how you are, and you try and depict that. And I think social media is great for that. You can give a little bit of insight into what you're up to, outside of the golf course. I would say potentially the way people have perceived me since being a captain, my brand has changed. Again, from the outside, most of my career, pretty introverted, pretty much keeping to myself, doing what I felt like I needed to do to be as good as I could be, and not maybe giving up a whole lot. But I think the Ryder Cup showed a little bit of a different side of me, a different side of how much work goes in behind the scenes. I think we saw that with the documentary Una Familia. We gave a little bit of a behind the scene, and exactly how much that really goes into this captain's role and trying to create that culture behind the scenes. So it's a full-on job being captain. It certainly takes up a lot of time, and I think maybe people switched seeing me as this quiet sort of just go about my business, where it's there's another side to him. He's pretty good at leading a group of guys. He's good at the media, dealing with the media, all this kind of stuff. So, but I don't think my brand has really changed. I've always just tried to be really authentic and be myself. And, that's, I think if you try and make yourself something different to what you are, it looks forced. It doesn't look great. And people will see through that straight away.
We are going to continue our conversation with Luke Donald, captain of the European Ryder Cup team. The brand that Luke was referring to me, represents class, because even if initially, maybe not as much now because of the demands of his current role, that he led us into his world where he felt safe and willing to do so, which I also respect. The Luke Donald that we've all come to know or feel that we know is one that has his different passions, be it wine or that beautiful golf swing. In fact, watching the video, Andrew put up a video of Luke's swing. I think he picked it up off Instagram. Here it is. When we come back, I want to give you guys a really rare opportunity where a man that ascended to world number one, I'm going to ask him to break down his own golf swing. Back with more with Luke Donald in our discussions about, all that lies in store for the Ryder Cup this year and beyond after this.
I got ball fit in 2000, went on a little run. Then Bridgestone fit me again, and I went on another run. I just got fit again for the new Tour BX. The ball fitting's been helping me. Will it help you?
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
When you choose Newton shafts, you're choosing more than a product. You're choosing innovation, pride, and excellence right here in America. We pay attention to the minutest of details, and you can feel that in the performance of our shafts.
Innovation has been at the heart of every SuperStroke grip we've ever created, cementing our status as the #1 putting grip on tour. Now the best just got better. Introducing SuperStroke Synergy, our most advanced putting grips ever, for unmatched confidence to quiet your hands and your mind. Find the perfect grip for your game at superstrokeusa.com.
Our journey began with a simple yet powerful vision to provide the world with the highest quality Virginia-type peanuts. The Hubbard Peanut Company, where quality and tradition meet to create an unforgettable experience. Visit hubspeanuts.com to explore our full range of products and place your order today.
Think PXG is too expensive? Think again. Buy any 7 clubs and save 15%. Buy 10 clubs or more, get 18% off, or maximize your savings with 20% off when you buy at least 14 clubs. Exceptional PXG quality and performance customized just for you with the best personal support in the business. Visit PXG.com or a PXG location near you to learn more. PXG, you've never played like this before.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
Welcome back to the Fairways of Life show. Pleasure to have your company from wherever around the globe you are joining us. Luke Donald is our guest today. So, Luke, you heard what I was promising the audience. Andrew, can you put that video of the swing up? And if you can, try to put it in slow motion as we're looking down the line here. Luke, could you break down the golf swing of Luke Donald for us?
Yeah, I think we're always our own worst critics. There's lots of things that I don't like about my swing. A lot of people would say, oh, yeah, one of the best rhythms in golf. And rhythm is something I've never really had to work on. So as you can see, I've got a shaft on my heel line, which is a little bit different. Most people would see it on my toe line, but my left toe, I point out a lot. So it sometimes gives me the feeling that I'm aimed right. Aimed correctly, but I'm actually aimed right. So getting my heels aimed correctly is really important for me, so I don't aim my feet too far right. And as a result, I tend to actually aim my shoulders too far left, which changes the path of my club. I think the thing that I've really struggled a lot with my golf swing is I get a little bit of what was called early extension. So my right hip goes towards the golf ball too quickly and it gets everything a little bit out of sync. And because of that, I get a little bit flippy through the ball. So the arms and the body don't work together quite enough and stabilize that club face. It's a little bit, a lot of technical terms I'm using there, but in general, yeah, I'm working hard on keeping my upper body and my lower body a little bit more synced together.
At 47 years old, Luke Donald, after this Ryder Cup, what are your thoughts? Is it a hope that you'll play PGA Tour Champions or Legends or maybe do more TV? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I dabbled a little bit in TV last season, and I enjoyed seeing that side of it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that's really my path going forward. I still love competing. I love playing, and I love what I kind of accomplished with this captaincy in terms of like a mentoring or leadership roles. I think I could certainly look to doing some of that in the next couple of years. But I turned 47 in December. I've sort of in my back of my mind got a 3-year plan of how I can be ready when I turn 50 to go out to the Champions Tour and give it a good run. I think I have, still the game to compete against these guys. I look forward to moving up a tee. I think that will be in my favor. And that's sort of where my thinking is right now. Get through this Ryder Cup, have a couple years to maybe explore some leadership stuff. Maybe I love working with the players. I love giving them some of the insights into how I practice and how I did get to world number one. And maybe I could work with a few players for a couple years, but with also the kind of insight of being ready for when I turn 50 to try and dominate on the Champions Tour.
There you go. Dominating the Champions Tour lies in store for Luke Donald. You've had, as you heard me mention in the last segment, you've had more time to get ready for this captaincy, for this second Ryder Cup. How has that changed your mental posture, a sense of timing, just control, if you can, of the swirling fray that surely surrounds the captain of a Ryder Cup side?
Yeah, the first captaincy it was shortened for many reasons, and a little bit more rushed, and a lot of unknowns. So this time, I've gone through it once, so I kind of know what to expect, and had a little bit more time to kind of go through everything at a less rush pace. So I think I think just the knowledge of having gone through it once is really helpful. So we're taking some good stuff that really worked really well in Rome and has worked well in lots of previous Ryder Cups. But also, I think as a leader, as a captain, you still have to evolve. You have to adapt. This is going to be a new challenge. Away Ryder Cup, it's a difficult challenge, and so new approaches, new strategies need to be thought about. And so I've had a little bit more time to kind of think through those, and hopefully by September, the plan is well in place and we'll be ready to go.
You could see some of the video we're running for you right now, Luke, of Bethpage Black. Could you talk to us about your familiarity with the golf course and what you're anticipating come this fall?
Yeah, amazing facility. Obviously, a state park, 5 golf courses. The Black is the most famous one. Hold U.S. Opens, major championships, and you can make it as hard as you want. It's a big course. You're going to be able to get many people on there. It's going to be loud. It's going to be spirited. And I think it's going to be a great Ryder Cup. It's in New York. New York is a special place. It's one of the best cities in the world, the epicenter of, the world economy. And, this is a place that all athletes want to come and try and challenge and try and win, because, there's no better place to be than New York. So I'm excited to be in New York. I think it's going to be an epic Ryder Cup, probably one of the best ever. And, it'll be a challenge, but we'll be ready.
Is it now kind of obligatory anytime you do a media interview that you're going to get asked about because you mentioned it, the raucous New York fans that will be lining these fairways? What do you anticipate, and how, as a captain of the European Ryder Cup side, do you deal with what will be a very engaged, very enthusiastic local fan base?
Yeah, we've played events there. We've seen it before. The Long Islanders can get into you a little bit. They can play with you. It can be a pretty tough environment at times. But I think knowing that, you can sort of prepare for it. So I think the players will be very aware of that. Certainly, I'll be doing a lot of communicating to them to get them ready, and we'll have a plan in place of how to deal with it. You just in the end, you hope. That being at home is a massive advantage to have that crowd and have that energy on your side. So you never want to take that away. But obviously in the end, we hope as Europeans that it will be still played in a great spirit of the game and not in an unfair way. But we'll be ready for all kinds of scenarios, and that's my job to kind of get them prepared.
Both in your case and them that you're referring to, your team, to get them prepared. Do you guys kind of just let the sensationalism of the build-up, maybe it's something someone says in a press conference or on a show on TV or what have you, and go, you know what, there's a lot of emotions involved. It's all the build-up to, but don't read too much into it?
Well, I think as a Ryder Cup and a Ryder Cup player, you have to embrace everything that's thrown at you. You do still need to take a step back and understand that what a special opportunity this is. Some people will be playing as a rookie, and that might be their only Ryder Cup, and they have to understand that. Some people will be playing their 6th, 7th, 8th Ryder Cups, and it will be just as special as any others. So for me, it's going to be a fun energy and a tough energy and a tough environment to play in. But at the end of the week, I want my players to walk away on that week and know it was one of the best weeks of their lives. And I've created something that was really special they'll remember all the time and they'll look back on. So, win, lose or draw, that's sort of always my goal as captain. I think we achieved that in Rome, and I've set myself a high standard, a high bar, but that is the goal, is obviously to give these guys such an amazing experience for the week, and to put in place certain things that will be used in future Ryder Cups. So I'm always looking to the future as well. The Ryder Cups are so special because they do influence a lot of players that haven't got into golf. People tune in that are not golfers, and they see a Ryder Cup and they go, you know what, I'd love to be a part of golf and be a part of the game, and I want to play a Ryder Cup one year. That's happened to many players. John Rahm was one in 97. He watched the Ryder Cup at Valderrama. It inspired him to get into the game. And you could go through a lot of people like that. And that is obviously another one of my goals, is to kind of inspire future guys and future golfers and juniors to get into the game.
I suspect, Luke, that you are one of those if you went down that list too. Our guest is Luke Donald. When we come back, and this is what I love about when we get an opportunity to interview someone of a sharp intellect, because really all you have to do is listen, and they tell you exactly where to go next. And one of the areas that I want to go next is, what is the role of the Ryder Cup right now, and where's it going, when we come back after this?
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
At PXG, we believe you get more out of your golf clubs when you're custom fitted. This ensures that every PXG club in your bag is completely dialed in to deliver maximum performance for your swing. Golfers of every skill level should go through this process, and PXG's judgment-free fittings will make sure you're completely comfortable and satisfied. Book your fitting and see what we can do for your game. PXG, you've never played like this before, period.
Innovation has been at the heart of every SuperStroke grip we've ever created, cementing our status as the #1 putting grip on tour. Now the best just got better. Introducing SuperStroke Synergy, our most advanced putting grips ever, for unmatched confidence to quiet your hands and your mind. Find the perfect grip for your game at superstrokeusa.com.
What would your ultimate golf experience be like? Just you and a friend? Or would you round up some buddies for a foursome? Just one day? Or an entire week? There's a good chance your ultimate golf experience could be Michigan's magnificent 10. 10 incredible courses set among 3 remarkable resorts. See for yourself. Book your ultimate golf experience today.
Our journey began with a simple yet powerful vision to provide the world with the highest quality Virginia-type peanuts. The Hubbard Peanut Company, where quality and tradition meet to create an unforgettable experience. Visit hubspeanuts.com to explore our full range of products and place your order today.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
When you choose Newton shafts, you're choosing more than a product. You're choosing innovation, pride, and excellence right here in America. We pay attention to the minutest of details, and you can feel that in the performance of our shafts.
Our guest is Luke Donald, the captain of the European Ryder Cup team. So, Luke, when you say goodbye to the family, Dad will be back Sunday night, or I'll be back on Monday morning, or whatever it is, week in and week out, that's the way you've lived for 30 years, right? The question is, what is it like when you're captain of the Ryder Cup? Because that's a hat you never really hang up on the hook and forget about, right? How much is it a full family affair?
Well, it's been a pretty full family affair for three and a half years now. I think my kids didn't really get how big the Ryder Cup was until they went to Rome. Usually it's a place you don't bring your children, like if you're players, because it's just such a busy week. It's a hard environment for them. But as captain, I brought my kids to Rome. They got to walk around. They got to experience it. They were there on the Sunday night for the party. And they really understood sort of the magnitude of what the Ryder Cup is. So now they understand it a lot more. They're looking forward to going to New York. It's going to be a different environment. They're going to see both sides of it. A lot of guys cheering for their dad, and now probably a lot of guys booing their dad. But I think it's an amazing thing for them to just to understand. Now they sort of understand. Oh, Daddy's doing another meeting for Ryder Cup, and why am I doing so many of these? And I think they understand, because when they got to that venue in Rome, they saw how big it was. It's a big responsibility.
Absolutely, one of the biggest sporting events in the entire globe. So, given the way, and it's funny because your captaincy, I would say, has bridged it, but not quite. You were 3 or 4 steps onto the bridge as the seismic changes were taking place in the world of professional golf. With that, what do you feel the role is of the Ryder Cup? What role can the Ryder Cup play to golf at large in the message that it can send out to the world about what golf at its highest competitive tier actually is?
Yeah, it's a deep question, and it's a tough one to answer. I think we've all seen what's happened in golf over the last 3-4 years or so. It's become a little bit fragmented. It's become, this side against that side, and it hasn't typically been great for the media. It hasn't been that great for the corporate sponsors, and it certainly hasn't been that great for the fans. The Ryder Cup, I feel like, has a great opportunity to bridge that, to bring people together. We talk a lot about playing for more than yourself, putting your self-interest to one side and bringing a sort of attitude of the team becomes before everything. And, and I think, if we approach that in the same way we could have approached certain things 4 or 5 years ago, maybe golf would look different now. So the Ryder Cup has a responsibility to showcasing togetherness, to showcasing unity, to getting the best players in the world playing together. And I think it's a good metaphor for what the game of golf hopefully will look like in the future.
And I'm curious, Luke, because this next question kind of has 2 parts to it, in being that to the players that you were the captain for in Rome, you will always be their captain, right? That's a role that you're going to forever have. You're captain. And then there are prospects that may be new on your team this go round. So I guess my question is, as a human, as their captain, for the experience that you went through, for all of its intensity and in Rome, the joy that came from it, how much do you stay in touch with those individuals just because you were their captain, regardless of whether or not they're on the team this year?
Well, we still have a bond. I think it's pretty typical that we'll form a group chat leading up to a Ryder Cup, and that chat still carries on today. There's some guys. Again, we're looking at the 12 guys there. There's a good chance, and this is historical. 8, 9, 10 of those guys might be on the team in New York again, but there's a couple will not, and there'll be a couple new faces, 3, 4 rookies. Like there is every year. But the people who aren't on that team, they will be tuning in and supporting Team Europe like as hard as anything. And it becomes a bond between you and your players, and that bond is never lost.
The last thing I want to ask of you today, Luke, is that I'm going to ask you to look into the camera and give a message, even though there's millions of people listening to the message, I suppose, but give a message directly to your counterpart, to Keegan Bradley. At this point, what would your message to Captain Keegan Bradley be?
Keegan and I are good friends. Keegan, I look forward to going against you. May the best team win. I'm preparing to do the impossible, not the impossible, but things that are tough to do. It's challenging to win a Ryder Cup, but we'll be ready, and I hope you guys are too.
Luke, you are, like I said earlier in this interview, a man of class. Thank you for the time that you have given us, some insights into your captaincy, equally as interesting to me, insights into your life and how you're handling all of this. We wish you the very, very best as you head on down the road.
Thanks.
I got ball fit in 2000 and went on a little run. Then Bridgestone fit me again, and I went on another run. I just got fit again for the new Tour BX. The ball fitting's been helping me. Will it help you?
What would your ultimate golf experience be like? Just you and a friend? Or would you round up some buddies for a foursome? Just one day? Or an entire week? There's a good chance your ultimate golf experience could be Michigan's magnificent 10. 10 incredible courses set among 3 remarkable resorts. See for yourself. Book your ultimate golf experience today.
Innovation has been at the heart of every SuperStroke grip we've ever created, cementing our status as the #1 putting grip on tour. Now the best just got better. Introducing SuperStroke Synergy, our most advanced putting grips ever, for unmatched confidence to quiet your hands and your mind. Find the perfect grip for your game at superstrokeusa.com.
At PXG, we believe you get more out of your golf clubs when you're custom fitted. This ensures that every PXG club in your bag is completely dialed in to deliver maximum performance for your swing. Golfers of every skill level should go through this process, and PXG's judgment-free fittings will make sure you're completely comfortable and satisfied. Book your fitting and see what we can do for your game. PXG, you've never played like this before, period.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
When you choose Newton shafts, you're choosing more than a product. You're choosing innovation, pride, and excellence right here in America. We pay attention to the minutest of details, and you can feel that in the performance of our shafts.
Welcome back to the Fairways of Life, Matt. I'm speechless. That time with Luke Donald was just extraordinary. He's so generous with it. How incredible is that? It's so amazing to have someone of his stature on the program, especially for the amount of time that he gave us. But it got me thinking about the Ryder Cup. And I'm going to ask you an impossible question, but I can't help it after listening to Luke Donald talk.
All right.
Can you tell me, like, in the chronology of the Ryder Cup, in the history, and its growth, it's gotten to the point we're at now.
Yeah.
What are, like, the three biggest moments? What are the posts, the guideposts?
Three biggest moments? That is.
Yeah, from where it came to where it is today.
That is nearly impossible. If I had to break it down into three moments in the time that we have left, I would say number one for me would be the first one. You got to start with the beginning. 1927 was the first Ryder Cup. It was held at the Worcester Country Club in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's interesting because you know the little guy that's on top of the Ryder Cup trophy? That golfer is actually modeled after Abe Mitchell. Abe Mitchell was Samuel Ryder, the seed merchant, the namesake's personal golf coach. And he was going to be the first captain of the GB&I, the Great Britain and Ireland side, but he got ill prior to, and Ted Ray took over. And Ted Ray was, the way I described Ted Ray would be, at his prowess, he was at top peak of his prowess. He was the John Daly at his peak of the game at the time. Big hitter and larger than life character. So he was the first captain. The American side, the first captain was Walter Hagen. And it's important to mention that because Walter Hagen was a playing captain, if memory serves me, 5 times, and then an additional time as just captain, so 6 times total. The key with Walter Hagen is to understand that the number one most important individual in the entire history of the Ryder Cup is Walter Hagen. Walter Hagen, more so than Samuel Ryder, the seed merchant, the namesake. Walter Hagen was the visionary that saw what this could be and what it eventually became. In the early days, Walter Hagen even funded like uniforms and things out of his own pocket so that the American team would be able to compete. And up until the First World War, it was nip and tuck between the two teams. After, of course, the Second World War, when Europe and England in particular were just devastated through the bombings and through the violence, after that, the American side dominated. So going back to Worcester Country Club, the reason why it was significant because Worcester was the site of the 1925 U.S. Open. And so there is this tether between the start of the Ryder Cup and Bobby Jones that a lot of people don't know about. That 1925 U.S. Open, that was where Bobby Jones called a penalty upon himself. When addressing his ball in the rough in the left side of the 11th hole in thick rough, he said the ball moved. He was playing alongside of his arch rival, the aforementioned Walter Hagen, if you can believe this. And so Bobby Jones said, I'm going to assess myself a penalty. Rules officials came over because it was the great Bobby Jones. They were like, whoa, let's think about this. And they asked Walter Hagen, did you see anything? He said, no, I didn't see anything. Bobby, please don't do this. Right? They asked people in the gallery, what would today be the rope line, did you see anything? Everybody said no. Regardless, Jones was resolute. He assessed himself the one-stroke penalty. Ultimately, he goes into a playoff against journeyman pro Willie McFarlane, and McFarlane wins. When all this was going on through the fray, the journalists, the media were asking Bobby Jones about what he did and why he did it, and this was such a noble move. And Jones quipped, and I'm paraphrasing, you might as well praise a man for not robbing a bank. That's Worcester Country Club. That was the stage at a national level that it was elevated to because of that event. So it was the perfect venue in the Northeast for the first Ryder Cup. That would be number one to me. Number two, this is very hard to do, Dominic. Number two, I would say, would be when GB and I were joined by Continental Europe. So that was that 1979 Ryder Cup. Now, this happened because of the vision of Jack Nicklaus. And Jack Nicklaus always has this ability to seemingly peer into the future. He did it in 1969 with the concession to Tony Jacklin when it resulted in a draw. Now, the Americans still kept the Ryder Cup then, but Nicklaus saw that the event was bigger than just wins and losses. He knew how important it could be to the game of golf. And so he conceded that last putt to Jacklin, saying that I never would have given you a chance to miss it. Again, paraphrasing the conversation between he and Tony with a putt when they were both together. I had them both in front of me one time and I asked him how long the putt was. And Jack went about like, is my arm in this frame? Kind of like this. And Tony kind of went like this. So it was interesting that the variance a little bit in the distance. But generally, I've heard about 2.5 feet. So Jack Nicklaus was saying through the 70s, you know what? We need to get continental Europe in it. It was only furthered as this prodigy Seve was coming along. So in 1979, it's the first time on the U.S. side, it was Billy Casper was the captain that year. It was the first time that continental Europe joined GB&I and became this new European Ryder Cup team. Seve was on that squad. Only Seve ran into Larry Nelson. Here's Larry Nelson from a few years ago on the show.
We ended up getting Seve, I think, 4 times.
Yeah.
With different, I think he had a couple of different partners, but we played him just by the luck of the draw, played him 4 times, beat him all 4 times. And then I got him individually for the final, the individual day, and ended up beating him, I guess, 3-2. So it was one of those things that nothing outside bothered me. For some reason, I'm able to focus, or was able to focus, on what was at hand.
So here, 1979, Europe with Seve, and you just heard from Larry Nelson, they get crushed. 1981, they go up against what probably the greatest United States Ryder Cup team of all time. They get crushed again. Then the European side loses their main sponsor. So things were looking pretty dire here. It was looking like, there's still a risk that the Ryder Cup may not continue. And that brings me, Dom, to my, I would say, point 3, which would be Tony Jacklin. Tony Jacklin is the father of the modern Ryder Cup, and he still doesn't get the credit that he deserves with that. So after these crushing defeats on the GB&I side still, because they were the one administering it, even though it was a combined team with continental Europe, they go to the multiple-time major champion in Tony Jacklin, the recipient of the concession in 1969, and they go, Tony, we'd like you to captain the Ryder Cup team. Bear in mind, and this is the piece where elements of history tend to fall through the cracks of the pages. People don't realize that Tony Jacklin was on the outs with the Ryder Cup. He was done with it. Seve Ballesteros was done with the Ryder Cup. Ballesteros he wasn't on the 81 team because of a dispute over appearance fees. So when they came to Tony Jacklin, Jacklin was as surprised as anybody, but Jacklin wanted to make sure that if I'm going to do this, there's certain things that have to happen. And the first thing that has to happen for the first time since the Second World War is we need to make sure that when we show up, we feel like our presence there is no different than our counterparts in Americans who always come in polished and getting anything and everything that they could seemingly want on that side. Whereas on the now continental Ryder Cup team, or European Ryder Cup team rather, they're coming in scraping and clawing for whatever scraps they can possibly get. That was point 1. Point 2 was getting Seve back on the team. I'll get to that in a second, because first I want you to hear about how Tony saw his becoming the European captain went down.
Also, they banned Seve from playing in 81, and he was arguably the best player in the world. Yeah. And I didn't think they wanted to win the Ryder Cup very much, not because they left me out, but because they left Seve out. The fact that they left me out teed me off somewhat, and God knows what Seve felt like. But I was done with the Ryder Cup. And that was that. And I never thought any more of it. I said, well, that'll do me. And
Seve was effectively done too, if I remember.
No, that's
correctly.
Right. He was angry with officialdom. We're both done with it. And they left picking the captain in 1980 for the 83 matches until 6 months before the matches were played. Because I didn't realize this till years after, but there was this argument behind the scenes that historically a captain had been a generation or more older than the team members. And Bernard Langer especially was arguing for somebody closer to the age of the players to be captain. In fact, he was pushing for me. And in the end, that's what happened. They came and asked me if I wanted to do it or would do it.
Were you surprised?
Well, you could have knocked me down with a feather, I'm telling you. I like I say, I'd done with it. And if I'd have given them an immediate reaction, it would have been clear off. But it was an opportunity, so I slept on it that night. And there were things that weren't right behind the scenes. I mean, we were traveling at the back of the bus. Americans were traveling on Concorde. We were wearing anything anybody would give us. They had the best of everything. And self-esteem-wise, the American team, they were 2 up before we had a golf ball. We didn't have a team room, for example. We were left to go off with our wives or partners to local restaurants during the week. If once we were told who we were playing with in a sort of corner of the locker room, the next morning. And the team room was a very big deal as well. So I said, well, I'll do it if I get carte blanche to do what I want. So I started to list all these things: Concorde, Kashmir.
You just wanted equivalency with your opponents.
Yeah, and they kept saying yes.
All right, so that was so critical that Tony Jacklin could build that foundation. But you heard me mention, for context, because he came in talking about it, Seve. To get Ballesteros back on the team, though, was another matter entirely. He caught up with him. He had been named captain now. It was an early morning breakfast meeting with Seve.
He was venting for the first sort of half hour, as you would expect. And I said, I know, Seve, I agree with you. They're a shower. They're a complete shower. But we don't have to worry about them anymore. I've got carte blanche, and I've said I'll do it, but I can't do it without you. I have to have you on board. But I didn't have to stroke him for long. He was fantastic. He said, okay, I help you. At the end of that breakfast. And he was back in. And I'm telling you, you can draw a line across Ryder Cup history from that moment forward. I mean, we nearly won this thing.
So the significance of the line that Tony Jacklin was talking about there is that since 1979, Europe has won 12 times. Europe has only won 14 times overall. 12 times since 1979. So that line was critically important. He got Seve back on the European side, and he is still absolutely the spark of inspiration for the European team to this day. What was it like competing against Seve? It was tough. Here's the great Lanny Watkins, who could be one of the greatest American competitors of all time, and he played on 8 United States Ryder Cup teams, plus he was a Ryder Cup captain, with this story about competing against Seve.
Well, it was Manuel Panera. I had played the first day at the Belfry. I think it was 85. It was Mark's first Ryder Cup. I played the first day with Raymond as my partner in that bed. And we had won both matches. And I got into it. Let's just say I was, the guy that was getting excited, jumping around, fist pumping everything. I was pretty much there. So the Brits didn't like me a lot. And that was fine. Got to the first tee. They booed us. O'Meara turned about as white as a sheet. I say, yeah, don't you love it? Let's go get them. Well, we all headed down the fairway, won Belfry. Mark and Manuel Panera were a long way from the hole. They ran their putts up, picked them up. I've got about 25 feet for birdie. Seve's about 12 feet in my line. And I had him move his coin. And I literally pulled the putt. It hit his coin, kicked right, and it went in the hole. He went ballistic. I mean, Seve, it was always looking for an excuse to get in your face. I played him 4 times in Ryder Cup. I was 4-0 against him. You just had to know that you don't put up with any crap from Seve. So I got right back in his face when he yelled at me about pulling the putt. I said, "Yeah, Seve, I'm that blanking good. Don't forget it." And that was the way it started. Omer and I ran the tables. We had him 6 down and 6 to play at one point.
It's absolutely classic from Lanny. 4-0 against Seve. So all of this leads to where we are today. And when I think the switch was actually thrown was at the 1991 Ryder Cup. I'm not going beyond the 3 that I gave you, Dom. Those are the 3 most important events in the history of it. But in 1991, Dave Stockton was a USA captain. And I asked Dave whether this was a turning point.
Maybe it's the first time it played out because we hadn't had the Cup back in 6 years. And 4 years prior to that, when Nicklaus got beat on his own golf course in Muirfield, due to his own fault, I mean, he was the one that pursued this thing of, okay, Great Britain and Ireland, we're kind of getting them every time. And when I played in 71 and 77, it was basically a foregone conclusion under J.A. Barron and St. Louis, and then under Dow Finsterwald and Lytham and St. Anne's in 77. And all of a sudden, Jack has this vision, and Jacqueline played a part in it, I'm sure. We'll play Europe. We'll play, Great Britain and Ireland and Europe, put them all together. And all of a sudden, it was an even Steven.
So outside of the 3 things I gave you, Dom, I've also mentioned 1969. I've also mentioned 1991. I think 85 and 87 were important because of European winning for the first time, Europe winning in the United States for the first time in 1999 when the USA came back at Brookline. Folks, thank you so much for your company. Be well. Goodbye for now.